games. It's ScrubGames. Double up. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames.
How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have our next deck of the week and our last one for set 3, and it's going to cover the deck I played at Locals last Friday, being Yoda Red. So this was the last version of Yoda that I hadn't played yet and hadn't tried out, with being the aspects in Aggression, and luckily my YouTubers voted, my subscribers voted to play this, which is great because it ran out the end of Yoda month, having covered all different aspects of Yoda. So we're going to go over what my list was when I played, so if you want to try it out, or if you want to, you could even then amend it for set 4, which comes out, I think, this weekend? Yep, I think so. Well, the pre-release is at least this weekend, I know for me it's at least. And yeah, we're going to have a look into it. But before we do, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. It keeps you updated with my videos as and when they drop. And also by clicking the notification bell, you can get alerts to when my videos do drop, so you can then watch them there and then, or at a later time that suits you best. So without further ado, let's get into the deck of Yoda Red. So just in case you haven't watched one of my videos of Yoda and don't know kind of what it does, because not everybody's going to walk into a video knowing exactly what's going on. Some people might be brand new and looking into it and think, oh, I like Yoda, I want to have a look at this deck, I like these aspects, kind of thing. So Yoda is a pretty cool leader. Deploys quite late as 7 resources, so like turn 6 or 7 resources is when he deploys. And he's got a great effect where, while he's in a leader area, he can tap himself. So his action is to tap himself. And if a unit left played his phase, be either yours or your opponent, yours or your opponent's leaves play, that could be being defeated or bounce a hand, things like that, you get to draw a card, and then you can put a card from your hand either on top or the bottom of your deck. So that means you can set up the top card of your deck to either draw into it now or some cool combos, like You're My Only Hope. Or you can put it on the bottom of your deck so you can hopefully see something new and something different after. And when you draw a card, you can put something you don't have to put the card back on top. You can put any card from your hand because you draw the card, then you put any card from your hand back on top of the bottom of your deck. So that's very nice. And when you deploy, you do then come in with good stats at 4 power, which is respectable, 9 health, which is huge, and also restore 2. So when you do attack, you are going to heal 2 from your base. So it's very, very nice there. But one of the other things, as well as the leader side effect that Yoda brings to the table that's very, very good, is that when he's deployed, he's got a when deploy effect, which is when deployed, you can discard a top card discard a card from your deck, which is basically the top card of your deck. And if you do, you can defeat an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same as or less than the discarded card. So that basically means that you can set it up with Yoda, so when something leaves the field, you can use Yoda's effect when he's in the leader area to then draw a card and put whatever you want that's in your hand on top of your deck. So you can basically control what's on top of your deck and what you mill, so you can hit a specific kind of cost or less. And that means when you do deploy, you can then mill the top card of your deck, you know what it is, and you can hit something that would basically hopefully take out the card you want. And this is why sometimes you'll play some high costing cards in your decks, that way you can hit almost everything, and that's why there is the Endless Legion build. You can even tech in every Yoda build, because it's a good card you can play off You're My Only Hope, because you'll be playing 3 You're My Only Hope in the Yoda deck that you can use either for Yoda's effect or to actually use the card itself. So that is Yoda. So really good leader, one of my favourite leaders in the game so far. And the base we went for is a red base, and we just wanted a 30 health base because Tarkin Town, I didn't feel like going less health to kind of have the effect Tarkin Town, because I didn't know I'd be viable with it, and also sometimes there is quite a bit of aggro at my locals. And where Yoda deploys very late, getting the extra draw from Shadow Collective Camp didn't seem that great. So I just wanted a 30 health base, and I just went ahead and grabbed the first one I had, which was Death Watch Hideout. You can pick any one, this is the first one I grabbed. So now let's have a look in the list and kind of check out the deck. So we're going to go from the units, then upgrades, and then events. So starting off with our units, we'll go for the ones you can play on turn 1. So we've got Quill, we've got Green's Logic A-Wing, we've got Sabine, and we also got Ketsu Onyo. So these are the ones you can play on turn 1 straight away to kind of start the game off. And they've all got varying good effects. So as you can see, there's 1 blue and 3 red. Now, Quill is probably the weakest one in terms of overall power, because even though he's got the same stats as Sabine, Sabine can do an extra bit of damage when she swings, either at the unit she's attacking into or at the base. But Quill's nice. He's a 2-cost, 2-free. That has Restore, so he's going to heal with damage off your base. But he's got a way to kind of generate more cards, and a pretty nice one with Yoda as well, because you can use it in tandem with Yoda's effect, top deck the card, to know what's going to be there. So the nice thing about this is Quill's got an effect where on attack, you discard a top card of your deck, and if it shares an aspect with your base, you return it to your hand. So the nice thing in that, and Yoda, like the good combination of that, you can have do Quill blind by just swinging and hope it's a red card on top of your deck, and you add that to your hand. If it's not a red card, it will be discarded and stay there. But if you use Yoda's effect that same turn to draw a card and then top deck a red card, you can then know that by swinging with Quill, you're going to get that card back to your hand, gaining basically plussing with the advantage there. So it's quite nice. So we got 3 copies of him because he can be useful, and with Yoda's effect that like set him up, it's quite cool. And then you've got the other 3. You've got Green Squadron A-Wing, Sabine, and Ketsu. They all are swinging for 3 damage. Because Green Squadron A-Wing, even though it's a 1-3, it has raid 2, so when it attacks, it's hitting for 3, but then it's attacked into, it's only giving 1 back. You've got Sabine, who has the potential to not be able to be attacked, but if you have 3 aspects among your other units, other friendly units, then she can't be attacked unless you have Sentinel. So if you've got a blue card and a blue card and a red card on board, and one of them has also Heroic, then that's 3 aspects that prevents Sabine from being attacked into. And when she attacks, you can deal 1 damage either to the defender that you're attacking into, or to a base. So that's quite nice there. And then you got Ketsu, and this is a pretty nice one. It's a 3/2, so a little bit less health than the others, a little bit less, and it could be taken up by things like Perilous or some like effects that neg 2 damage, and 2 health is quite fragile. But she has Saboteur, so she can ignore Sentinels, which is like nice for. And she's also got a nice useful effect that can come useful in certain matchups, where when she deals combat damage to a base, you can defeat an upgrade that costs 2 or less. So that's any experience or shield upgrade, and that's some bounties and some other upgrades your opponent might put on you. So it's really nice against boss. You play this out, they put an upgrade on your Ketsu and then ping it damage. Next turn, you're gonna, because you're taking the initiative after playing it, you're just gonna go ahead and swing at the base and then ditch that upgrade off Ketsu, because it defeats any upgrade on the field, either yours or your opponent. So you can get rid of those pesky upgrades, which is what bounties is quite nice. So those are our first ones you can play turn 1, and we've got some other ones. We've got Yoda, we've got Cassian, and we've also got Tech. So these are cards you can play from turn 2 onwards. So for the turn 1s, we will almost 3 copies, well, 3 copies, because you want to make sure you get a turn 1 play. If you don't have a turn 1 play, that's pretty harsh. But now we've got 3 copies of Yoda, because Yoda's a great one. It's a 3 cost, 2/4, has Restore 2, so when it's healing 2 when it swings, which is quite cool. So nice bit, makes more healing there, and he's also got a nice effect where when he's defeated, you can choose any number of players. Remember, in a one-on-one game, there's 2 players, it's you and your opponent, and then each of those people you choose draw cards. So normally with Yoda, you're going to choose yourself to draw a card, not your opponent, unless you're trying to deck them out, make them draw more cards. Then you might choose them. So we've got 3 copies of Yoda because it's just that great healing, replaces himself, and not too bad, and also a Force and Jedi card for any of those Force Jedi requirements. We also got 2 copies of Cassian. Normally people put 3 copies of Cassian in decks because he's one of those cards that can help finish off that last bit of damage to go for game, because you can smuggle him out, and when you do smuggle him out, he comes in ready, and his smuggle cost is just 2 more than normal cost, so you pay 5, and a 3/5 is like the good kind of stat tier for 3 costs. But I've only put 2 because usually he's not going to be the bases, but you normally with 2 you'll at least hopefully see 1 copy, so you can have him to kind of finish off base damage if you need be. And of course we've got 1 copy attack because it's just nice to have. It's 2/5. It's on a 3 cost, which is pretty nice. Pretty good stats. Not the best attack, but still pretty good with 5 health. And he only smuggles in for 4, which is pretty nice. And he also gives you a nice effect where all your resources gain smuggle, and their smuggle cost is their cost plus 2 and their respective aspect icons. So it basically allows you to give all your resources smuggle, so you don't have to worry about resourcing something and have it lost. You can always have tech available to go ahead and give you all your resources as to be able to play it again. So we only got 1 tech, and I don't think you need more than 1 tech. It's not like in decks that can, where you want to kind of get a certain thing out, like DJ out quicker. It's just there as a tech option, so you got 1 copy. Then we move on to the 4 costs. So we've got 2 Kanan, 1 Razor Crest, and 3 K2SO. So normally, well, Kanan, I was tempted to have more, but I thought I wanted to put an extra copy of, well, a copy of Razor Crest in, because even though, well, we'll see how many upgrades I've got, but like being able to recycle upgrades is quite nice. And I was trying to think about where, because I want to keep it at 50 for the deck, and I was wondering where I could potentially go ahead and amend it. And I thought Kanan does give healing, and so does Razor Crest, so I could probably switch that one out. And Kanan sometimes he doesn't feel as useful, even though he's pretty good with his stats and effect. Because he's a 4 cost with 4/5 to its stats, so pretty good, very good stats. And on attack, it allows you to discard a card from your opponent's deck for every Spectre unit in play, so you can potentially hit 2 because you've got Sabine and Kanan. And then you heal a damage from your base for every aspect that's milled. So if you mill 2 cards and they've got 2 different aspects among them, you heal 2. If you hit 1 card and you get a double aspect card, then you heal 2 anyway. So difference isn't too big, but it's just a nice little bit of healing, good stats. Also, he's got the Force trait as well, which could be beneficial for some cards in the heroic side. So we've got 2 copies of Kanan, and then we replace that third copy of Kanan with Razor Crest, because it's also a 4 cost. It's a 3/4, so slightly less on the stats, but it comes in Restore 2 and is Space Arena as well, so kind of a little better there. And when played, it allows you to grab a upgrade from your discard pile and put back in your hand to make use of some of those upgrades you've already used and get them back to use. And the ones we use are pretty good and pretty useful, so recycle them is pretty nice. And plus, if you do mill them off a quill, you can grab them back Razor Crest as well, which could be useful. And then we got 3 copies of K2SO. Now I kept 3 copies of this because K2 was just great. It's a solid 4 cost 4/4, very good stats. Has overwhelm, so it can do piercing, so it can attack, take out board and still pierce through to base, which is so nice. And it's got a very nice effect when it's defeated, so if your opponent wants to take out and they're not doing it by like bouncing or anything that's not defeating, you get to trigger the effect, which is either choose an opponent and either make them discard a card from the hand or deal 3 damage to the base. And sometimes it can vary. Like if you're trying to push damage on base, 3 damage could be handy. But if you're not worried about damage to base, trying to control the board, discarding a card from their hand and having less options could be very handy as well, which is pretty nice. Like give them less options. Maybe if they want all the cards in hand they don't want to discard, that's going to give them a hard choice to discard something that they feel is still useful, which is nice as well. And if they got very few cards in hand, like they've got 1 card in their hand, 2 cards in hand, they use 1 to take out K2SO, or they got 1 card and they take out K2SO what's on board, you can discard that last card. Now, unless they've got Smuggle, they've got no other options to play, and then you basically you're taking control of the game. So that's what we've got there. Then we've got the next one being our 5 cost, being Poe-Dameron, which is a very nice card. Very good stats for its cost. 5 cost card with 6/6 for the stats is very good, and a very nice effect on attack. So he gives you an option to discard up to 3 cards from your hand, and for each card discarded as well, you get to choose an option, and you can't choose the same option more than once. So if you discard 3 cards, you get to trigger all 3 options. If you discard 2, you get to choose 2 of the 3 options, and if you discard 1, you just get 1 of the options. And the options are either deal 2 damage to a unit or a base, so more damage to base or to a unit. You can up defeat an upgrade, which is nice, especially when going to the next set. Upgrade removal is going to be key. And the last one is your opponent discards a card from hand, so a bit more discarding as well, which is very, very helpful sometimes. So we've got 3 copies of this, and this is one you can play off. All these ones are ones you can play off for free from Your Only Hope if you top deck them. So you can use Your Only Hope, hit any of these, and play it on free, not have to pay an extra bit of resources because they're all 5 or less. Then next we got 2 copies of O1, being a nice little Sentinel, and also has some benefit with Force because we've got some good Force cards, like we've got here. We've got Yoda, Cassian, and also you got your leader. You've got some other Force cards in there. But even then, even if it's not a Force card, the only benefit of that having a Force trait is drawing a card. But Obi-Wan's a nice little Sentinel, a 6 cost 4/6, so pretty good stats. Sentinel as well, meaning your opponent has to go for it if he wants to go through to your base or to your other units. And when it is defeated, he's got a nice effect to give another unit 2 experience to a friendly unit. To at the very least, you're going to boost up one of your other units by 2, so give him 2 experience. And if that unit is a Force unit, which sometimes it will be, then you get to draw a card. So that's the only benefit there, drawing a card. But still, a 2 experience when it's defeated is pretty nice, especially put on your leader or like a Kane or a Yoda. It's pretty cool. But we only got 2 because sometimes it's not great in certain matchups, but it's nice and where it's a high costing card. You can potentially get up turn 4 using Yoda and Your Only Hope, but he's basically just there for versatility. If you don't need him, you can always resource him. Next, we got our 7 drops being Luke Skywalker and Mace Windu. So Luke Skywalker being like the one card that's almost, even though it's a legendary, it's like a card that's needed when you're playing Heroic Blue because it's such a strong card, you kind of need it. And even though it is a legendary and a little bit costly. It's not, if you're dedicated to it, you might as well pick him up. Because he is a 7 cost, 6/7, that is restore 3, so when he swings, he's keeping 3 off your base, so a good amount. And when he's played, you can give an enemy unit -3/3 to the stats for the phase. And if a friendly unit in that phase was defeated, you get to give an enemy unit -6/6 instead. So you're always going to give -3/3 to something. But if you lose something that same turn, that has got to be defeated, not just bounced, then you get to minus by 6/6 instead, so that's pretty nice. You can even trigger this easily by ramming one of your own cards into your opponent's unit, so you can force something to yours to be KO'd, and then make sure Luke hits 6/6, so it's very easy to trigger. And we've got Mace Windu being another 7 drop. Slightly less on the attack power, because it's a 5/7, so same as like Vader level stats. But he's like Vader, he's got Ambush, but he's got a different effect where when this unit attacks and defeats a unit, which sometimes he will do, then you get to ready him. And it's pretty nice because you can come down, take out a unit, ready him so you can attack again, either at your opponent's base or another unit. And sometimes, depending on the if your opponent's got a lot of small powered units, you can end up going ahead and wiping out your opponent's board just with Mace Windu, which is pretty nice. Remember, these two can be play out a little bit cheaper. You can get them out normally on 7 resources, but you can get them out on 5 resources in combination with Your Man Hope and Lose Something, as long as you can top deck it with Yoda, which is pretty nice. Next, we've got 2 copies of Redemption. This nice little bit of healing, because it's kind of a healing that gets around those cards that stop you from healing, because it's an 8 cost 6/9 event. A space unit. With Sentinels also, you're going to have to go through it, and it's got a nice little effect where when played, you can heal up to 8 total damage from any number of units and or bases, and deal that much damage to this unit. So it does get around, it doesn't get around healing, sorry. Ignore what I said. It does prevent healing. I thought it just moved them from it to the other one, but it doesn't. It just heals the damage and then deals that much damage to this unit. So yeah, so ignore me. I thought it just moved it over. I didn't read the card properly. Being a TCG player, we don't always read cards properly, or we just make assumptions, which isn't great. But yeah, it doesn't get around healing effects because you have to heal the base, but it does allow you to heal 8 damage from your base and then put the damage and then deal damage to itself, which is quite nice. It doesn't just move the damage over. But it's pretty nice then, because healing 8 is pretty good for 8 costs, and then being a Sentinel, meaning your opponent has to go through it. Normally it's going to be taken out quite easily by one of your opponent's weaker units, because it go down to 1 health, because you're normally going to want to heal the full 8. But it's still there to give a good amount of healing, and even you can play it off a little bit cheaper, off of, with, once again, the combo of Yoda and Your Only Hope. When you got 2, we can always side in another one, but 2 feels enough, because you got hope you can get to the late game where you can get to 8 if you're going against aggro, and you can't get to the late game. It's not going to be as useful, but that's where Your Man Hope can play it for free, and we'll see about that when we get to the card. Then our last unit we've got, I didn't realize until the 3rd game that I was actually maining one of these. I thought I was siding them. I was siding both of them, because sometimes I feel like Crate Dragon is just a win more. Sometimes it is pretty good to kind of help stop your opponent from doing stuff. And yeah, Crate Dragon is a 9 cost, so the highest costing card in the deck, and a 10/10 with Overwhelm, so it can do piercing through units, which is really nice, because you can always control the board by swinging for your opponent's units, and the damage still is the base. And then if they play anything, you get damage more base, because it's got a really nice effect, where when an opponent plays a card, you may deal damage equal to that card's cost to their base or ground unit they control. So if they ain't got a ground unit, straight to the base is where that damage is going. So at the very least, you're going to be damage something, even if they ain't got a ground unit. So if they start playing just space, you can just go ground, base with the damage. But if they play ground units, you can potentially, if you want to, instead of either put on the base or put on that ground unit to play. So it means your opponent has to be careful when they're playing cards, because they play a card whose cost is the same as or more than their health. It's normally going to die, unless they want to go for base, but normally it prevents your opponent from even keeping things on the ground arena. And yeah, keep aside a bit more. It is a really nice card. You can even get a little bit cheaper with Your Money Up on 7. Same turn Yoda basically deploys, but then you're not going to have any control about when they deploy, but then that might not make a difference all the time. So those are so a lot of units in this one, a lot different than the other unit decks I've built, where at least the Lens Legion ones, where you got a lot of units, but you one-off copies, and they're going to go on the base, but it's a lot of units. And now we're going to move on and have a look at the upgrades to see. So let's have a look at what upgrades we've got. So, for the upgrades we've got, Perilous Position. That's the only one we play, so you might be expecting maybe a lot more, No, we just play Pair Suspicion because it's a very nice card. Because remember, there's those pesky space units that can't be defeated, captured, or damaged by your opponent's effects. So we need ways to deal with them so that they're not just left there hitting hard. Because remember, they also have raid too, so they're hitting hard when they swing. So we've got Pair Suspicion as a way to deal with them because we don't have too many space units. We have 3 space units. Yeah, so we don't have many to deal with them, but that means they're not going to have, hopefully, many ground units to deal with our ground stuff. And then the space units you got are pretty nice, because even at increase watch, anyone can take it out. Razor Crest can take it out, and Redemption can force them to go into it and take it out as well. So Pair of Suspicion is an extra way to kind of deal with those, or even just the nice thing it does is also when played, it's not just the stats that it minuses, but also when played on a unit, it exhausts attached unit. So at least resting a unit while making it weaker can be very handy, especially when it comes to leaders. So that's the upgrade. Now let's check out the last 5 cards, being the 5 events I played. Starting off with the cheapest one, being Force Throw. So another card that kind of gets a good benefit out of Force cards. And you can see there's not too many Force cards, and not too many cheap ones. Like the cheapest one is Yoda, and it goes to the Kanan, and then it jumps straight up to Obi-Wan, and your big hitters like your 7-drops. But still, it's a really nice card, even with Yoda. Remember, Yoda is also a Force unit, so as soon as you deploy him, that gives this the full power. And at the very minimum, if you don't have a Force card, this is just a choose a player, make him discard a card of hand. So it's like a discard 1 card from your hand kind of effect. But the reason why you don't really want to do that without a Force unit is because you get the full benefit with a Force card on board. So the card is choose a player, that player discards a card from your hand. That's the effect. 1 cost, make it discard 1. But then, if you control a Force unit, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of the discarded card. And sometimes this comes in really handy, because remember, it's just choose a player, and that player chooses a card. They choose what they want to discard and discard it. So if you choose your opponent and discard a card, they're normally going to choose the weakest card in their hand, or the lowest costing card in their hand. So that way they do minimal damage if you've got a Force unit. But if you choose yourself, you can choose what you discard, so you can potentially go Force Throw, choose yourself, discard, say, your Crate Dragon. So Crate Dragon is not going to be useful in this matchup, or your Redemption, because you got 2 anyway. And now you get to choose. Now you've chosen an 8-cost card. You're going to do 8 damage. However you choose. I mean, you can use this as well sometimes to take your opponent's leader. So if you've got a Force card in play and they deploy the leader, you can go Force Throw, choose yourself, choose a card whose cost is equal to or more than their health on their leader, and then do that much damage to your leader, take it out, so it doesn't even get going. So it's a pretty handy play, especially you can even do that with Sabine as well. Like if you play against Sabine, you can bring out Yoda, and when they bring out Sabine thinking it's safe, you just go Force Throw in yourself, discard it like a Poe Dameron, and now they're taking 5 damage to the leader, and the leader just goes back in the leader area, unable to be used this turn unless they used it before. So very handy card. We play 3 copies of it because it's just a handy card, and it means your opponent has to fear anytime you got a Force unit on play that you're potentially going to be either discarding a card from their hand, especially if you've got a few cards in hand, potentially going to be a big one, and you can do control with your hand as well. Next we got Open Fire. We got 2 copies of Open Fire, just to come down and deal 4 damage to a unit. So it's a nice way to just chip away at units or just take them out. And if they're controlling your board but trying attacking your units, they might be damaged, and you can finish them off with Open Fire. So a pretty handy way to do it. And we only got 2 because space was a bit tight, and sometimes 4 damage isn't enough. Sometimes it is. So it depends on the matchup. Then we got Your Many Hopes. So this is a card that was amazing in set. Well, I kind of need to word out a little bit better because it's an amazing card. But the problem is, in set 1, it could be utilized that well. The best way you can utilize it is by using 4 calls, I believe in. Because that's a card that allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, deal damage to your opponent's base equal to the number of heroic units you got there, and then discard any number of cards you find out of those 4 that you don't want, and then rearrange the rest of them on top of your deck in any order you want. So you can use that to look and see what cards you got on top of your deck, and then rearrange them and set up the top card of your deck for your Maya Hope. But that was really the only way you could really do it consistently and easily. But now Yoda's come about, and Yoda allows you to go ahead and make sure you can get the top card of your deck, so you can set this up a lot easier. Because like I said, Yoda, as long as something's left the board, maybe your opponent's unit, then you get to draw a card and then put a card on over the top or bottom of your deck. So you can always put a card on top of your deck and then play your Mino Hope to reveal that card and then play it and cost 5 less. Or if you've taken, or if on your base you have five or less remaining HP, you can play it for free. And this is normally how people play with the Endless Legion. They get themselves down, so you got 5 or less remaining HP. Then I play Endless Legion and then play out all the units in the resources for free. Very good combo, very fun. And this can be used to play things like Luke Skywalker on 5 resources. You play at 5 less, so you paid 3 for your Money Hope, giving you 2 resources left. So you can play so Luke's gonna be cross-bound by 5. So it costs 2 now if you want to play him out. So you pay the last remaining 2, play out Luke on 5 resources. And dropping a 7 drop like Luke or Mace Windu on 2 turns earlier is amazing. Or even dropping a Poe Dameron on turn 2 is amazing. So do keep that in mind. Very good card and one like a staple forever for Yoda. Then you got 2 copies of Takedown, so we got some removal in event form, but I went with Takedown over Fell the Dragon because Yoda deploys quite late, and you can kind of take out some big things with his when deployed, and you got some big units like for the late game to start hitting hard, even like Force Throw to start taking out some bigger units. But in the early game, if you're not seeing your many units, your opponent's aggroing you down from the space and stuff like that, you might need some help to kind of take them down. So we've got some takedowns to help take out things, and also deal things like DJ and also Sabine too. So you got 2 copies because space is tight, and at least some copies is a good amount of copies. And then because we sometimes have our locals some like leader focus decks or some cards that need to be taken out with Rivals Full, we've got 1 copy of the Rivals Full. Sometimes we do have decks like an Obi-Wan who just gets upgraded with a lot of upgrades, so he is huge, a Sentinel, and hard to take down. So you need some kind of help taking down things that normally can't be taken out with most means, so we've got Rivals Full to take out things like that. So that is the deck. That is the 50 cards in the deck, and yeah, I don't think there's too much I want to amend. Not really sure. I feel like it felt alright. Didn't feel like anything was out of place or not useful. But like sometimes Quill I do find is like not useful unless he's in a double blue deck to make sure you're definitely getting that advantage off. But with Yoda being a top deck, well, men top deck, so you know it's a red card, can be a lot better with Quill. And yeah, apart from that, just nothing seems to be changed. But then we'll see how we get when we see all of set 4 and try out some decks for that. So let's also have a look at side decks. I do like the improvised side deck because sometimes people might want a bit of help with side deck, or just net deck the whole thing so they can try it out and then amend it as they go. But do remember that side decks are more personal to person playing, depending on how they play, the meta they're going to, or the local scene. So do bear that in mind. So with my side deck, I have these 7 cards in there. So what I've got first is 2 copies of Sabin Fangfire. They help deal with upgrades, because like I said, sometimes at locals we have some upgrade-focused leaders that are pretty hard to take out, so having this as a way to take them out, or take off some pesky upgrades or even shields and stuff like that, could be very useful. And even going into set 4, where we've got a lot more upgrades in this form of pilot, this could be a very good card to help deal with those. So something I feel like is almost a staple for side decks coming forward if you're playing red. Then we got 1 extra copy of tech, so if you feel like you need more smuggling or more ways to kind of make use of resources for games, tech could be an extra copy of tech could be useful. You also got an extra copy of Redemption if you need healing, so if you're playing a later game or can get to a later game, you need more healing to stay in the game. Redemption is a very good one for that. We got 1 copy of Chewbacca, just if you feel like Redemption isn't as useful, or you need a bit more removal, or say like Crate Dragon just not gonna put in the work that you feel like it should do or normally does. In a matchup, you can always switch to Chewbacca because he can either be played for 8 or smuggling for 9. So it could be like Crate Dragon's cost, but when you smuggle, and it has a nice effect. So just take out something that's got 5 or less remaining HP, a bit more removal with a body as well, and that body can be huge. If you take some damage to it, you can start getting big and bigger and bigger. An extra copy of Crate Dragon if you feel like a second one could be very handy, or if you feel like checking in an Endless Legion, you can always resource these Crate Dragons and an Endless Legion. I feel like Endless Legion is just a card you can play in any Yoda build as a one-off copy, because at the very least you're going to be top decking it, so when you deploy Yoda you can kill anything that's 14 cost or less, which can be very handy. So if you don't need that 1 copy, or if you feel like you can pull it off in a game, if you've got 1 point a game and you can pull it off, you can always do it, because then you'll at least be healing off 8 from your base from Redemption if you have one of those resources as well. So Crate Dragon would be a handy one if you feel like it's going to be helpful against certain matches. So when you drop it, if they got no easy way to remove it, it can come down and just cause havoc. We got 2 copies of Make an Opening to help deal with those aggro decks and Django decks and stuff. Just a -2 to a unit to make either take it out or make it weaker, so you can take it out, and also heal 2 damage. So like Equalizer is probably better because it can take out 2 for 1, but then when playing more units and not like a deck with minimal units, so Equalizer is 1, not going to hit as much, and 2, it's going to cost us 5 because it's that double aspect. You mean we're going to have the penalty on it. So Make an Opening is like the next best thing for that, and gives a nice bit of healing, like a nice little bit of healing from it, and also -2/2. And last we got Fellow Dragon. So if you feel like in the late game, takedowns, if you're going against a matchup where takedown's not as useful, but Fellow Dragon could be more useful, you can always put that in. And while you could potentially have Vanquish as a bit stronger, which is kind of come back into play in some like control decks now, Fellow Dragon is still a cheaper way to take out those big cards. And you may need focusing on taking out those bigger cards like Evercrate Dragons and stuff like that to take out those. So those normally get switched in for takedown. So that's a side deck. Feel free to amend it how you want. This is just how I played for it then, and kind of will feel like it was all right for me, and just how I like to play. But if you want to amend it, feel free to do so, because side decks are more personal to you yourself, because you're playing the deck. But that's it. I may do some upgrades when we get to set 4 is out in a bit, to kind of go back, because I know I'll be doing things like looking back at Yoda decks, because I've got some amendments to different Yoda decks, because Yoda's probably my favourite leader from set 3. And of course, I love that Endless Legion play. And I got some more builds of that. But thank you for watching. Feel free to comment down below if you've got any questions about the deck, any comments or suggestions for do so. I'll try to answer as best I can to any comments, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But for that is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next one. Bye for now.